All right, let's turn here to to another governor who's just coincidentally right across the Hudson River from Cuomo. Um, Chris Christie, I've been saying all along that the issue is not whether or not his 2016 aspirations are alive, but whether or not he'll even be governor in 2015. And I may have to amend that because this is going to be 2014 is still quite young. And as of this weekend, he is in big trouble. I mean, just to get everybody up to speed on what's going on, we anticipated more stories about intimidation coming out and this sort of use of public funds and of public power to benefit Christie pals, essentially. Now there's a report out, not a report, but frankly, almost, and I think it's fair to say testimony at this point based upon what's happened over the weekend. But you have the mayor of Hoboken, Dawn Zimmer, came out on Steve Kornacki's show, I guess it was on Saturday, and said that she requested $127 million in hurricane relief as a function of Sandy. 80% of her city was underwater after Sandy. She ended up getting $142,000 to defray the cost of a backup generator plus $200,000 in recovery grants. This is federal money. There were, I think it was $60 billion made available for all that were impacted by Sandy. She is claiming that she was told by the lieutenant governor and then another official from the Christie administration, you are not going to see any money flowing until you approve a development by the Rockefeller Group, represented by Sampson, one of Christie's right-hand men in New Jersey, a lawyer. And not only was she sort of make this claim, she said, I'll take a lie detector test. Within 24 hours, she was in the New Jersey on a Sunday. The U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, basically for 2 hours, presumably testifying. I don't know if testifying is the right word, but giving, you can't lie to a federal investigator. This sounds pretty serious, doesn't it, Josh?
Yeah. What's funny is that not only is Kornacki's reporting and theory about what actually happened, I think, much more likely than other theories, but it's much more damaging to Christie. If it was just about punishing some mayor for not endorsing, it's sort of a one-dimensional deal. He looks like a bully, but I'm not really sure that makes Republicans not like him. This is about corruption. This is worse.
Now, wait, just to be clear here, you're talking about Kornacki's theory that had to do with the bridge closing, that it had to do with another development deal that was happening in Fort Lee. And so
Correct.
This is why this is that much more damning, because we're now starting to see this is just a pay or play type of situation in New Jersey.
It's the same. It's kind of the same thing with Hoboken, because this isn't just about using it. It's about how Christie uses the government, uses the power of his office, right? And it's one thing if affecting traffic is one thing, but now it's getting into money. And with the development in Fort Lee, he's basically using the power of the government to steer money in a specific direction to people who have connections with Chris Christie. And with Hoboken, sort of using the power of the administration and the federal money that the citizens of the state deserve to influence local elected officials. That is a much more malignant type of scandal, in my opinion, and something I think. And the other thing here is that the fact that now that multiple mayors are coming out, I think what you're going to see is mayors who have had any experience with Chris Christie, a bad experience with Chris Christie, now they feel safe coming out and telling the story. That Chris Christie is sort of on the ropes now. it would not surprise me at all if Kornacki comes with more stories and more stories about how Chris Christie misused his administration. And in the end, I think that's what really will jeopardize his governorship, because using the power of the office to influence people that you know, to steer money, that's corruption. And, no one really has tolerance for that.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think, the thing that really hurts him, I think ultimately, well, I mean, we got to separate this to a certain extent. There's the political implications of this, and then there's the, frankly, the legal implications of this. This is not I was, hiking in the Appalachian Trail with my girlfriend type of story. This is not, follow me, I've never, I don't have a girlfriend type of story. This isn't even quite the, I like to wear diapers and with paid paramours a variety. This goes to the heart of the most. I mean, when we talk about governmental corruption, this is exactly what you're talking about, right? I mean, this isn't the right was talking about Solyndra, excuse me, which was supposedly, President Obama pushed for legislation to dole out money to a group that he could say was actually on par with the policy, but supposedly these were campaign donors. This is withholding emergency funds unless you give my consigliare's client the deal that he wants. I mean, this is really bad.
It's funny, like on the federal level, what we're talking about Democrats is it's a much longer term, broader thing. It's on the state level with Chris Christie and the administration in a state like New Jersey. You basically can get the whole crime in one photo.
Yeah.
It's like a drug deal where it's like the same guy is like, "Do you have the drugs? Yeah, I have the drugs. Did you bring the money? Yeah, I got the money. Okay, I'll give you some money. You give me the drugs. Okay." It's like it's not clever. It's not diffuse. It's all you see the entirety of the corruption basically in one story.
And the the other reason to believe that there's going to be massive legal jeopardy here for Christie and his cronies is, like any police officer will tell you, if we pull you over for a traffic violation, our estimates are that you have committed 23 such violations every time we peg you with the ticket, or 53 or whatever it is. The Christie administration doesn't just do this with Hoboken, with federal aid, and it was a one-off. We just tried it one time. This becomes a standard operating procedure, and like you say, there's going to be more of this is going to come out. Now, let's just go to a political, for the moment, turn to politics. It's over for Chris Christie at this point, right? I mean, there's no way, and I was saying this 2 weeks ago before this even came out, he's done in 2016. In fact, there was a poll that came out this weekend. His unfavorability ratings have jumped from 17% in January. I mean, we're still in January, to 34%. This is according to a poll released yesterday. His favorability ratings just dropped a little bit, but these are all new people. The idea, and you've worked on campaigns, Josh, the idea that the first time somebody becomes aware of you, and this is a national poll where new people are starting to hear of Chris Christie, the first time people hear about you is in the context of a corruption scandal. Is it ever possible for you to recover from that? I mean, short of saving a family of babies from a fire on live television, I mean, is there any way to recover from that?
Well, if I'm one of Chris Christie's strategists and just sort of putting on that hat for a moment, let's say we're trying to think of a way to make sure that impression nationally doesn't stick. what do you do? And if I'm his strategist, what I do is look for one thing as part of the scandal that I can debunk, and then basically paint as the broader liberal attack on Chris Christie. Now, for example, I've heard some people say that they're a little nervous about the fact that the mayor of Hoboken says she has a journal of what the lieutenant governor told her about the Sandy funds in the supermarket that one day that she talked about. There's photos. Kornacki had the photos of the journal. They're going to give it over. If I'm Chris Christie's aides, I'm hoping that the mayor sort of overstepped and that thing is fake. Because, if it's something specific to documents or it's something specific to one element, and I'm Christie's advisor, I want to seize on one thing and say, see, the whole thing was a made-up political attack. And I think that's the same reason they're very smartly, I think, going after MSNBC.
Right.
As scandal, the new rule in politics now for a scandal is the best way to diffuse a scandal is to make it partisan. Once it's sort of in the partisan realm, there is no truth, there's no real right or wrong, it's just a sort of a left-on-right pile-on. Their danger is if it stays about corruption and the logistics of the corruption and the deal. And, if I'm an advisor to Christie, I look for any foothold that allows other Republicans who generally don't like Christie to force them to defend him because it's become a Democrat versus Republican thing. That's their absolute best bet.
All right, here's the two problems that you as a Christie advisor is going to have. A, that mayor of Hoboken to write a fake journal and to open herself up to lie detectors and investigations from federal authorities, particularly from New Jersey. We got to remember there's plenty of Christie, appointees in that U.S. Attorney's office in New Jersey. To do that, she would have to be clinically insane, because within 24 hours, they have sat her down. They are examining that. They're going to take forensic evidence to see if that's contemporaneous. She would have to be completely 100% bonkers to do that, because she will end up in jail. Lickety split. B, the other problem, and this goes back to, I was on Hayes' show last week or the week before talking about when does a scandal stick. As far as I can tell, a scandal sticks when either it is just overwhelming, there's a tsunami, nobody can deny it, or you have no base or strong constituency who are willing to overlook the reality of it to deny it. And the problem that Christie has is that he's got almost as many, if not more, sort of natural enemies on the far right who are the first to make these things about partisanship as he does on the left. And you're not seeing the Eric Ericksons come out and use all their energy to debunk this thing, because they don't have any love for Chris Christie either. Yes.
In fact, that might even be a bigger problem, because if there's anyone worse equipped to make their scandal or their problems partisan for the purpose of having the Republican Party defend you, it's Chris Christie.
Right.
People are still furious at him for literally wrapping his arms around Barack Obama days before the November 2012 election. That's a big uphill climb for him.
And if he tries to do it, he ruins his own brand in the meantime.
Yes, that's right. And I think that I think it's a safe, smart move to go after MSNBC. The thing that they want is something from a Democratic mayor to be disproven. The other thing that is just a sort of a word of caution is, just like we have to sort of make sure we examine the claims of these New Jersey mayors fairly intensely, because they're mayors. They were likely screwed over in some way by Chris Christie, but they're also mayors in New Jersey, right? So I'm like, I'm a little, I'm a little, hesitant to cast them as the better angels of the story. That being said, I do think that you're right that Christie has a really hard time making this partisan, and I think that his other enemy in the situation is time. There's a certain point. He's at a certain point in the 2016 election cycle. He was just inaugurated today. Where this is in some ways the worst time for something like this for Christie to come out because he has all this time in front of him. There's no sort of there's no moment, there's no natural break like a nomination fight, like a debate or something like that. He has all this time for more stuff to come out and for all of these cases to be litigated in public. And it's terrible for him. And with and lastly, he has no surrogates. He has no people to sort of stand up and be meaner and to sort of be his attack dogs. He got what? Who? Rudy Giuliani? Not helpful. Not helpful.
Right. Right. And, in terms of timing, this is not a situation where the big money donors are going to, put good money in after bad. Because they haven't put that bad money in yet. And so I think many of them are going to hold off to see if he's going to weather this storm, because that bet all of a sudden becomes a lot worse. He's got big problems. I'm really going to enjoy, it really puts new meanings to Orange is the New Black with Chris Christie. I mean, the amount of just seeing him in a jumpsuit is going to be just wonderful. I think.
I think the major question is: are prison stripes slimming?
There you go. Josh Orton, on that note, sir, you have won the interviews for the day, as it were. Josh, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.